What type of rental property are you buying next? Short-term rental, apartment block, single-family home? In this video, I've grouped together the chapters 10 through 13 that I recorded a couple of years ago in my free mini-series. In the next 10 minutes, you will learn an outline on short-term rentals as a rental property asset class, the advantages and disadvantages of short-term rentals, apartment blocks as an asset class, and why so many investors dream of purchasing an apartment block. Let's get right into it. So today we're talking about vacation and short-term rentals. What is classified as a vacation property? Well, pretty well any property that someone rents from you while they're on vacation. This is normally in a place that you would call a tourist destination. You know, think of a hot place, especially if you live in a cold climate like we do, and odds are when you travel to that place, you might choose to rent a vacation property as opposed to staying in a hotel. You normally see these kinds of rentals on websites such as VRBO, which stands for Vacation Rental by Owner, or Airbnb. A short-term rental, on the other hand, is similar but different only in its function. You might not be in a tourist destination, but the traveler might rent your property for a bunch of different reasons. You know, business, visiting family, maybe they're here for a major sporting event, maybe getting a medical procedure for the traveler or the loved one. So what are the considerations in owning a short-term or vacation rental property? Well, workload. By nature, compared to a residential long-term rental, for example, a tenant on a year lease, you might have 2 to 3 different people in the property per week. That means 2 to 3 move-ins, 2 to 3 move-outs, 2 to 3 rental transactions, 2 to 3 interactions to close those transactions, etc. And if you aren't in the local city, you'd have no choice but to hire a property manager that specializes in short-term rentals. For a long-term lease, it's theoretically possible to manage from afar as long as the tenant has moved in and settled. You have more costs in consumables. Many people forget about linens, toilet paper, laundering the sheets each time. You also have cleaning. You have to get the property cleaned in between tenants. That's once a year for a year lease and 2 to 3 times per week for a short-term rental. All right, so I'm running out of time in my promise to give you 2 minutes or less. So we're going to continue on next segment next week and talk about the disadvantages and advantages of short-term and vacation rental property. Thanks for watching. In this week's segment, we're going to be continuing on in our discussion about short-term and vacation rentals and speak about the advantages and disadvantages of this type of property asset. So the advantages, as I mentioned last week, profit potential. When you consider a 2-bedroom condo that rents for $1,300 in your downtown area, compare this to renting the same condo in the short-term market for $130 per day, and you only have to rent it out for 20 out of 30 days in the month, and that's $2,600 gross income. So what other advantages are there to short-term and vacation rentals? Well, not to be funny, but in my opinion, there really isn't another advantage. It's a lot more work, you have other considerations, but the profit potential is absolutely huge. So let's talk about the disadvantages. Like I said, workload. You have one move in and move out for a single family dwelling per year, and that's assuming the tenants don't renew their lease, which most often do. For short-term and vacation homes, you might have 3 per week, which is 12 per month, times 12 months, that's 144 move-ins and move-outs. Cleanings, supply restockings, laundry, etc. Yes, you can hire a property manager, but that brings me to my next point. Management fees are higher. In short-term rentals, the management fees jump to 20 to 30%. But considering how much more work it is for them, it's justified, particularly, if you don't live in the same location, you really don't have a choice. But either way, you need to subtract that expense from your income to find out the bottom line. Another disadvantage, higher startup costs. You have to purchase furniture, mattresses, bedding, towels, plates, cutlery, pots and pans, coffee makers, art for the walls, special lock boxes. Another consideration, there's more wear and tear. If you have more renters going through the property, that just means more potential for nicks, gouges in your walls, things breaking down, appliances, etc. And one of the most important issues I want to mention, the rules and regulations in your city or even a condo board if you're renting out a condo. This varies from region to region, but I've seen firsthand where a condo board suddenly votes to only allow leases longer than 1 month, which is the same thing as saying we don't allow Airbnb without actually saying it. On this point, make sure you do your homework, ensure you have a lot of other owners in your same position in the building so your collective votes make a difference. Otherwise, you could be left with $20,000 in used furniture in a property you're not even allowed to rent out. Are these disadvantages too great an obstacle to overcome? Many people don't think so, and in fact, depending on your market, vacation and short-term rentals is a fantastic investment. But like anything, do your homework and make an educated decision. All right, apartment blocks, the holy grail of investment properties, the most sought after type of property by most investors. There must be a reason everyone wants to purchase this asset class. Is it hype, fiction, or fact? All right, let's start with the definition. An apartment block, according to the internet, is a multifamily building with 5 units or more. Now, I don't think this audience needs a further explanation of what an apartment block is. Most people know. So I'm gonna get right into discussing the advantages versus the disadvantages. All right, advantages. Economies of scale. Now this refers to the ability to spread costs out over multiple income streams. So rather than owning 10 different properties with 10 roofs, 10 furnaces, etc., you own one property with one roof, one boiler, you pay one property tax bill, one insurance bill, and at the same time you have the same level of rental income. Another advantage, increased cash flow. So in theory, your cash flow increases at a faster rate because of the number of units in the building. This is debatable depending on rent control in your particular location, but we'll leave it in the advantage column for now. Reduced risk exposure. So one of the biggest risks in a rental property that an owner faces is vacancy and tenant turnover. If you have a single property that's vacant, you're on the hook for holding costs, your mortgage, your property taxes, your insurance, etc. When you have multiple tenants in one building, however, you're spreading out both your risk and the cost risk for vacancies. Okay, so that'll do it for advantages. And of course, I'm at my 2-minute limit, so we're going to split this video up again, and next week I'm going to be talking about the disadvantages of owning an apartment block. So the disadvantages, first one that comes to mind is economies of scale. Now, you're saying, wait a minute, I just saw this last week. Garrett just spoke about economies of scale as an advantage. Well, glad you're paying attention. I did mention the advantage of having everything under one roof, one boiler, one roof, versus having 10 roofs and 10 furnaces. The issue is that the roof is not a $5,000 roof. It's a $75,000 commercial tar and gravel roof. And it's not a $4,000 furnace replacement. It's a $60,000 boiler. Bigger asset, bigger repair bills. Another point about having all your eggs in one basket, you increase your risk to market fluctuations and also having all of your income coming from a single property. What happens if it burns down? A major job provider in the area declares bankruptcy and a large portion of your tenants lose their jobs. Or a new development is built in the area that forces you to decrease your rates to be competitive. The cost? Well, this might be an obvious one, but if you're just starting out and wanting to buy a single $250,000 rental property, your down payment might be $50,000. Purchasing a 10-unit block might increase that down payment to $300,000 or more. Now, while some might have $300,000, many don't, and if you want to pursue a dream of owning a block, you might need to take on partners, which can come with its own set of problems. Taking on money partners means they might want some cash flow right away, which might reduce the property's operating cash flow. And financing. Most apartment blocks are considered CRE, and the qualifications are different. The financial institution might also give you a commercial mortgage loan rate, which may be higher than your local bank trying to sell you a residential mortgage. And the fourth disadvantage, and this is a big one, rent control. This is a huge topic, and I'm not going to get into this in the last few seconds of my segment, but in a general sense, depending on your market, apartment blocks are subject to tighter rent controls versus a smaller building, all things being equal. Whew, did I make it through? Am I under 2 minutes? All right, next episode, we're going to be talking about the cousin of apartment blocks, the smaller multiplex. Thanks for watching. If you want to know more about how to own a rental property and manage it yourself, I'm releasing 2 to 3 new videos per week. Subscribe to the channel to get notified when they're posted, and also help grow the channel so YouTube will put this information in front of other people like yourself. And if you're interested in checking out a community of like-minded investors that have come together to share ideas and experiences about being a landlord, check out my Rent It Yourself community. Link is in the description below. Thanks for watching.